Hello everyone. This week's Dvar Torah is on Parsha Dvarim. It's the first Parsha in Sefer Dvarim, the last Sefer in Chumash. Okay, so I'm actually picking up from last year's Dvar Torah. Because it was so long that the video actually got cut off, so I'm just going to be continuing. We'll just start a few minutes earlier in the video, so if you watch last year's clip, you can omit the last 4 minutes safely, hopefully. Okay, so this is based on Rav Bernstein. Rav Bernstein is basing his Dvar Torah on the Divrei Torah of Rav Heinemann. He was the former Rav of the Grashul in Beit Vegan. So we'll start at the beginning. So Elah Dvarim Asher Dibar Moshe al Kol Yisrael, right? These are the words that Moshe spoke to all of Israel on the other side of the Jordan, right? Bamidbar, in the desert, Ba'arava, Mol Suf ben Param ben Tofel v'Lavin l'Chatzirot v'Dizahav. The names of all of these places. Now, what are all these places? So Rashi explains to us, this actually is a Lashon Tochacha. Moshe is rebuking the Jewish people. Now he's doing it here in a veiled way, because Moshe is actually not specifying the sins that the Jewish people did. He's only mentioning the places where they did the sins, so that by hearing the names of the places they did the sins, the Jewish people know they're being rebuked. Now, why did Moshe do this? Because one of the most important parts of giving rebuke is that the rebuker must respect the person he is rebuking. Because the person who's being rebuked doesn't feel like the rebuker respects him in one ear and out the other immediately. He's not going to care what this person says because he doesn't respect me. He's just saying all this stuff to be an elitist. He doesn't really care about me. So Moshe must teach them, Moshe respects the Jewish people. That's why he's alluding to this so delicately and so by hints. Now, generally, people who are most in need of rebuking kind of tend to have a habit of just ignoring rebuke. So maybe Moshe is kind of making a mistake here. He's giving these veiled hints, but the people who don't understand, they won't understand. And they certainly didn't have a commentary of Rashi to illuminate the fact that Moshe is rebuking them. So, what's going on? So it says Rav Bernstein in the name of Rav Heinemann, even so, this message is too important. Bnei Israel must know that Moshe respects them, and therefore, even if there are some people who won't understand, the message is too important. Know that Moshe respects you, and that's that. We'll deal with the veiled hints. Okay. But there's another problem that Rav Heinemann brings up. That is to say, what is Moshe doing rebuking Bnei Israel at this moment? What do we mean? This is taking place right before Bnei Israel go into Eretz Yisrael. Now, that means that we've been in the desert for 40 years. If that's true, then the entire previous generation has died. If they've died, then the people Moshe is rebuking are not the people who committed the sins that he's rebuking them for. He's saying, you worship the Chera Egel, you worship the golden calf, you sent the Meraglim, you sent the spies. Well, they'll say, no, we didn't. That was our parents. Our parents have died already. We're the new generation. We're the ones who are going into Eretz Yisrael. So what are you doing blaming us? That's a very good question, a question we don't think of, but a question that Rav Heinemann notices and that we need to deal with. So by way of response, that's because Moshe is alluding to this again. Moshe doesn't want to tackle it head on because it can be uncomfortable. So he's kind of saying this by allusion, and the kids will get the hint. What's the allusion? That is to say, because these sins are still found in there are echoes of them in the second generation within the sons. Those sons did the same sins. What are the sins? The sin of Chera Egel was the sin of Avodah Zarah. The sin of the Meraglim was the sin of retreating and leaving and recoiling from Eretz Yisrael out of fear for what will happen. Now, where do we see echoes of this? Very simply, at the end of Balak, we see the sin of the Chera Egel, of Avodah Zarah. The Bnot Moav came, and Bnei Israel were mazana with them, and the daughters of Moab got Bnei Israel to worship idols. That's Avodah Zarah. There you go. That's the Chera Egel. That is the sin that was transferred to the Banim. Well, okay. How about the Avera of the Meraglim, of recoiling from Eretz Yisrael? Where do we see that? So for that, we need to fast forward a little bit to Parshat Eikev. There we're going to go to chapter 10, verse 6. So you see, Uvnei Yisrael nasu miber bnei Yakan Mosera shamit Aaron veikaver sham veichen Elazar bno tachtav. Right? The children of Israel journeyed from Berat bnei Yakan to Mosera. There Aaron died, and he was buried there, and Elazar his son ministered in his place. Now that is very difficult to understand. Why is that? Because if we actually go back to last week's parsha in Maseh, go back to Bamidbar chapter 33, verse 31, what do we see? Vaysu mechashmona vayachnu b'moserot, vaysu b'moserot vayachnu b'vnei Yakan. So Bnei Israel journeyed from Moserot to Bnei Yakan. What happened in Akev? Vayisu v'nasu b'barot Bnei Yakan Mosera. It seems like their travels were reversed. What were Bnei Israel journeying from Berot Bnei Yakan to Mosera? They not a journey the other way. They went to Moserot to Berot Bnei Yakan. That's what Rav Heinemann points out. And Rashi actually answers this question. What were they doing there? So that's question one. And question two is, it says, Sham met Aaron. That's not true. Aaron didn't die in Mosera. Actually, if we go back to Maseh, just a few psukim later, it says in Pasuk Lamatet, and earlier as well, if Aaron ben Shalosh V'Esrim U'Me'at Shana, right? Aaron was 123 years old. B'moto Behor Hahar. Aaron died in Hor Hahar, not in Moserot, and not in Berot Bnei Yakan. So what's going on? Rashi explains that really, what happened when Aaron died? The Ananei HaKavod left. And therefore, because the clouds of glory left, Bnei Israel were now vulnerable. And Melech Arad came to attack them. Now, because Melech Arad came to attack them, says Rashi, because Bnei Israel were so worried about them, Yiratam Lachem Melchemet Melech Arad, V'natatem Rosh L'Achzor L'Mitzrayim, right? Because you were so afraid of warring with Melech Arad, you turned tail and went to return to Eretz Mitzrayim. You went back to go to Egypt. And you went back eight destinations. You went 8 points back. You retreated a lot. From Berot Bnei Yakan and from there to Mosera. And then Sham Nilchamu Lachem Bnei Levi. And at that point, Bnei Levi started warring with you and fighting with you. This is terrible, right? The Hargum Mikem and Bnei Levi killed some of you. And you killed some of them. Until finally they made you return to go back in the direction of Eretz Yisrael. So this we see is much worse actually than the sin of their fathers. Because their fathers, look, they complained about Eretz Yisrael. But this generation, you're closer to Eretz Yisrael, and second, you actually turned tail to go back to Mitzrayim. Your fathers never did that. So we see that second element of the sin of turning tail and recoiling from Eretz Yisrael was repeated in the second generation. Now, an important point to take from this is look at the way Moshe rebukes them. He does not do it directly. He never talks about the sins of that generation themselves. He talks about the sins of their fathers. And in that way, he almost gives them room to kind of react. He takes the heat off of them by saying, oh, you did the Cheder Egel, and you sent the Meraglim. Now the sons could say, like, well, look, we didn't do that. But they'll get the hint. They'll get the point. They're like, look, maybe we didn't do that, but there are things that we did that are like that. Now in that way, Moshe is still rebuking them, but still saying, out of respect for the Jewish people. And even though they could say they didn't do those things, it's true, correct, that's the point. It's a veiled hint. So Bnei Israel can say, look, this is something it needs to be worked on, and even though it's true, there's baggage, right? You're dealing with something you've inherited, so it's going to be tough, but you can deal with it. So deal with it, and this is the tochacha of Moshe that we see. He's being gentle, and that the sins of the sons were not as bad as the sins of the fathers, because at the end of the day, they were let in to Eretz Yisrael. Okay, Ad Kan, Shabbat Shalom.